Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that's always evolving. Canadian cannabis laws as of 2025. It's been several years since legalization, and a lot has changed. So, whether you're a resident, a visitor, or just curious, this video is your comprehensive guide to staying on the right side of the law. First up, the basics. In Canada, the Federal Cannabis Act sets the foundation. The minimum age to purchase, possess, and consume cannabis is 18 years old. However, this is where it gets tricky. Provinces and territories can set a higher age, and most of them have. As of 2025, almost every province and territory has set the minimum age to 19. The only exception is Quebec, where you must be 21. Alberta and Manitoba are also at 18. So always check the specific rules for the province you're in. It's a simple step that can save you a lot of trouble. Now, let's talk about possession limits. Public possession limits are standardized across the country. You can legally carry up to 30 grams of dried cannabis, or its equivalent, in public. This is a key number to remember. What does equivalent mean? Well, the government has set up equivalents for other cannabis products. For example, 1 gram of dried cannabis is equal to 5 grams of fresh cannabis, 15 grams of edibles, 70 grams of liquid product, 0.25 grams of concentrates, or 1 cannabis plant seed. It can be a bit confusing, but the idea is to have a single, consistent limit across different product types. If you're carrying a mix of products, you'll need to do a little math to make sure you're under the 30-gram equivalent limit. Keep in mind, this limit is for what you can have on you in public. The rules for how much you can have at home are different, and we'll get to that in a moment. Where can you buy legal cannabis? This is another area where provincial rules dominate. Each province and territory has its own system for retail sales. In some provinces, like Ontario and Alberta, you'll find a robust market of privately owned, licensed retail stores. In others, like Quebec and New Brunswick, sales are handled by government-run corporations, similar to how liquor is sold. Then you have provinces with a hybrid model, combining both private and public retailers. And, of course, online sales are a big part of the picture. Most provinces operate their own official online cannabis store, ensuring a legal and safe way to purchase products from home. The key takeaway is to only buy from licensed retailers, whether it's a physical store or an online one. The illicit market is still out there, but purchasing from it is illegal, and the products are unregulated, meaning you have no idea what you're actually getting. Let's move on to consumption. Where can you actually use cannabis? This is probably one of the most confusing parts of the law. Generally, you can consume cannabis in private residences. However, if you're a renter, your landlord can set rules prohibiting smoking or vaping in the unit. Public consumption rules vary wildly between municipalities and provinces. Some places allow you to smoke or vape cannabis wherever tobacco smoking is permitted. Other cities have banned it in all public spaces. For example, in many national and provincial parks, consumption is limited to your registered campsite, and you can pretty much forget about consuming in a vehicle. Driving under the influence is strictly illegal, and having cannabis accessible to the driver is also a major no-no. The best advice is to assume you consume in public unless you check the specific local bylaws for that city or town. When in doubt, stick to a private residence. Now for home cultivation. The federal law allows you to grow up to 4 cannabis plants per household for personal use. Notice, that's per household, not per person. So, if you have 4 roommates, you can still only have a total of 4 plants in the house. But again, provinces can add their own restrictions. Quebec and Manitoba have banned home cultivation entirely. In other provinces, you're good to go with the 4-plant rule. But there might be additional rules, like the plants can't be visible from a public space. If you're growing at home, you must be using seeds or seedlings purchased from a licensed source. Let's touch on edibles, extracts, and topicals, which became legal a year after dried flower. These products, often called Cannabis 2.0, have their own set of rules. The most important one is the THC limit. A single package of edibles cannot contain more than 10 milligrams of THC. This is a federal rule designed to prevent overconsumption, especially by new users. For extracts and topicals, there's a limit of 1,000 milligrams of THC per package. All legal products must come in plain, child-resistant packaging with clear health warnings and THC CBD content information. This packaging is a huge indicator that you're buying a legal, regulated product. What about driving? This is a point that cannot be stressed enough. Do not drive high. The laws are extremely strict. Police have the authority to use approved drug screening devices to test for THC in a driver's saliva at the roadside. There are new criminal offenses for having a certain level of THC in your blood within 2 hours of driving. The penalties are severe, ranging from hefty fines to jail time, and are on par with alcohol-impaired driving. It's just not worth the risk. Plan for a designated driver, use a rideshare service, or take public transit. For travelers, the rules are also very clear. You cannot take cannabis across the Canadian border, period. It doesn't matter if you're traveling to a place where cannabis is also legal. Like a U.S. state, taking it across an international border is a serious federal crime. This applies to both entering and leaving Canada. However, you can travel with cannabis domestically, meaning on flights within Canada. You're allowed to bring up to your personal possession limit of 30 grams, but it must be properly stowed in your carry-on or checked baggage. Be prepared for security screening, and remember that you still have to follow the rules of the province you're reflying to when you land. One of the big developments we're seeing in 2025 is the ongoing review of the Cannabis Act. The government is legally required to review the act and its impact. This review is looking at everything: the effects on youth, the economy, and public health. We're starting to see discussions around things like THC limits in edibles. Some industry groups and consumers are advocating for higher limits, while public health officials are cautious. We might also see changes to packaging rules or how different product categories are defined. Another hot topic is cannabis-related tourism and hospitality. There's a growing interest in things like cannabis-friendly lounges or consumption spaces. But the legal framework for this is still in its infancy and varies by province. This is definitely an area to watch over the next few years. So, to wrap it all up, while cannabis is legal in Canada, the system is a complex patchwork of federal, provincial, and municipal laws. The golden rules are: know the legal age in your province, respect the possession limits, only buy from licensed retailers. Be very careful about where you consume, never drive impaired, and never take it across the border. The legal landscape is still shifting, so staying informed is your best bet. Always check the official government websites for the most up-to-date information for your specific location. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this guide was helpful in clearing up the cannabis laws in Canada for 2025. If you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content like this. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next video.